the Packers and the Jets. When do you think this something will happen, and what do you expect to happen?
Yeah, so imagine what my life is like right now, Michael. It's a lot of fun. I think it's really sort of up to him, and I think the ball's in his court. I think the trade terms are workable. I think the contract is workable. I don't think that there are any real, I would say, stumbling blocks that'll prevent a deal there, other than Aaron Rodgers deciding he doesn't want to go to New York or he doesn't want to play at all. And those two things seem like the most likely outcomes now, either retiring or playing for the Jets. Now, the Packers haven't completely moved on, but the way they've approached this offseason is just completely different than the last 2 years. The last 2 years, it's we'll leave the light on for you. Take your time, Aaron. Make a conscious decision, Aaron. We'll build the team for you, Aaron. This year, it's more like, let us know by free agency because we got plans to make. And oh, by the way, this roster may look pretty different than it did the last couple of years. So they aren't pushing them out the door, but there are a lot of subtle signs the way they're handling and have handled the last few weeks that show you kind of where they stand on this. And I think a not insignificant part of this is they feel a lot better about Jordan Love now than they did in either of the last two off seasons.
Yeah, Albert, the Jets are clearly recruiting him heavy. You see some of the players here. He did his darkness retreat. We're hearing sort of these things like it's coming soon. When do you think we're going to get a decision? Because I'm tired of waiting. I want to know.
I mean, like I said, like it's, my weekend is going to consist of me making sure that nothing's happened while I'm at like youth hockey games. So, I think that we'll probably get a decision before Wednesday. Does that mean Saturday? Does that mean Monday? Does that mean Wednesday? I'm not sure. But I do think that Aaron Rodgers is going to respect the process for both teams here. And remember, there's some train of thought here that like he'd just be screwing the Packers by waiting. He'd sort of be screwing the Jets too, and if he's planning on playing for the Jets, like he wants to be in place before the start of free agency so they can start doing the things that teams in that position where you've got the older quarterback that puts you in win now mode would do, and they've got some flexibility to do some things because some of their best players, Garrett Wilson, Sauce Gardner, Ollie Vera-Tucker, Breece Hall coming back off the injury, Quinnen Williams, a lot of those guys are still on rookie contracts. So they got the flexibility to do some things, but as you guys know, if you wait until April 1st to make your decision, a lot of those things come off the table. And so it's not only the best thing for the Packers, but it'd be the best thing for the Jets for everybody to have an answer by the middle of next week too.
Now I'm going to ask you about Lamar Jackson in a second, but before I get to Lamar, I want to add one more thing because we've shown some headlines here. One of them said, hey, how the Jets could get how the Jets could get Aaron Rodgers without giving up their first round pick. And it really makes me wonder, okay, what kind of trade package are we talking about? Like what?
Yeah.
Because if I'm the Packers, I'm sorry, I'm not giving you Aaron Rodgers. You better come off a future first or the first this year. I'm getting a first round pick, even if I want him to leave because it's Rodgers and that's what quarterbacks demand. What is it? Give me a sketch of a trade package.
Yeah, I mean, I think you could dig your heels in if you're the Packers. That's certainly an option. And the Jets seem like they're all in on this. But I think what's more likely is probably a second-round pick and a conditional pick or two down the road. Their second-round pick, the Jets' second-round pick, I believe falls at 43rd overall, which isn't that far off from being a first-rounder. So, I think it'll probably wind up being a combination of that. And, again, like a conditional pick maybe in 24 that would be based on how he performs in 23 or a conditional pick in 25 that's based on how he performs and whether or not he plays in 2024 and plays for the Jets in 2024. So I think that's the more likely package. I think part of this, Michael, is his age. Part of it is his contract that you're asking another team to assume the $60 million. And then, there's also the fact that there aren't a huge number of suitors out there. In fact, there may only be one. So I think all of that plays into the fact that the value isn't the same as, say, it was when the Lions traded Matthew Stafford or the Broncos traded Seahawks traded Russell Wilson, or when the Texans traded Deshaun Watson. This is a totally different situation. So I think it is going to be difficult for the Packers to get a first round pick in return.
Tell me quickly, who does Lamar Jackson play for in 2023, and what's his contract look like?
Ravens. And, I think the compromise here is doing like a Kirk Cousins type of contract, guys. Like, everybody's fixated on the Deshaun Watson contract. I think that one's hard because I think the reason why that one's hard is because, you look at his playing style and the type of offense you're going to run for him, and then the injury history. He's missed over 30% of the snaps 2 years in a row, where if you're the team, you say, that's a bridge too far. Is like guaranteeing you money in 2027 is too much for us. And I can also understand where Lamar looks at this and says, well, wait a second. I just took on 5 years of injury risk. I played out my rookie contract, and now you're looking for injury protection down the line. So to me, the middle ground there would be a shorter term, fully guaranteed contract. So do something, and the numbers would be bigger, but Kirk Cousins got 3 years fully guaranteed. So instead of doing the traditional top of the market quarterback contract that the Ravens have offered, which would be, 3 years of guaranteed money, then 2 or 3 years in the back end of non-guaranteed money, just say, instead of doing that, like, let's just lop off the non-guaranteed years at the end. We'll do a 3-year fully guaranteed deal. Everybody can walk away from this happy because you're getting your guaranteed money. And if you hold up physically, you got us coming back to the table 2 years from now. So, like, I think that would be the compromise. And I think he will be a Raven. I think more or less, like, people look at this as them shoving him out the door. That's not what this is. This is the Ravens saying, okay, you're over here, Lamar, we're over here. There's a serious philosophical divide that has prevented us from finding a middle ground. So let's let the market decide. And, I think within a couple of weeks, we're going to see what the market says about it.
So the word of the last few days has been collusion, and the market has been saying they don't want to meet with him. What do you make of that? And if teams are going to meet with him, who would it be? And what would be, if he didn't end up going to the Ravens, what would be the most likely location?
Well, so I would say, like, and Michael knows me well enough. I'm not afraid to accuse the owners of collusion. I think it does happen on some level in the NFL. I don't think that's what this is. I think this is the amount of boxes that you have to check to be truly in on Lamar Jackson right now. You have to be comfortable with his injury history. You have to be comfortable with a fully guaranteed contract. You have to be comfortable with giving up draft picks to get him. You have to be comfortable with blowing up your offense and running in a specific type of offense for him. When you keep checking boxes off, and this happened with Tom Brady. This is why there were only two teams at the end with Tom Brady, because you had to check a lot of boxes to be in the mix for him. Like, when you start to check all of those boxes off, you eliminate teams. And so I think that's why we are where we are. That said, I do think that there are some teams that are going to look at this and see opportunity. And, I think the Raiders will make a phone call, right? Like, I think there are teams out there that will make that phone call. Now, are they willing to go to a fully guaranteed contract is a different story altogether. So I don't think there's been collusion, but I do agree with people who say, well, what does it hurt to make that phone call and see what he wants? That's the part that I agree with. I think there are a lot of teams out there. The Commanders are one of them, and I don't think the Commanders are going to be interested, but I think they should be interested. There are a lot of teams out there that should at least pick up the phone and make that phone call and see what he wants. And by the way, like, because he doesn't have an agent, we don't know, like, which teams are going to do that, which teams aren't.
Thank you. Hallelujah.
Because he doesn't have it. Because, I will tell you what. I'll tell you what. Like, if he had an agent, that agent would have been tampered with quite a bit last week in Indianapolis. Yeah. And because he doesn't have an agent, but that's the thing is, like, if he had an agent, I do think, like, he would have a better idea of what the landscape is out there. Because he doesn't have an agent, it's much harder for him to get an idea of what the landscape is. And so that's where we're left to, as reporters, to call these teams up and say, hey, would you do this? And that's where all those no's have come from.
Bert Breer, always appreciate the knowledge, man. Enjoy your weekend. I hope you do enjoy your weekend. Or if you're at those youth sports games, you can kind of play it off on the slide. Hey, good job, honey. Good job. Gotta go.
That's what we signed up for, right, Mike? Yeah. Thanks, Aaron. Right. Thanks, Aaron.
That's what we signed up. We signed up for that on both counts, as journalists and dads. So where you go. All right, Bert. See you.
Thanks, guys.
Hey, thank you for watching Brother from Another. If you haven't hit that subscribe button, go ahead and do that now. Don't forget you can catch us 3 to 4 weekdays on PeacockTV.com and on Sirius XM Channel 85.